You know, Star Trek's better than some of the Star Wars films. Did I piss everyone off already? Well, prepare for me to do it again.
Star Wars, a cultural phenomenon that has taken the world by force. And my personal favorite fandom. They were some of the first non-animated films I discovered at a young age, and I have dove into many of the facets of the Star Wars universe. Video games, books, television, toys, cereal, replicas, bathroom, appliances? And of course, films, which is my favorite aspect of the Star Wars universe. When I was young, I would watch these films over and over until I had them memorized.
Even when I was trying to be cool in high school, I never let my love for Star Wars falter.
I'm a Jedi Knight, bitch.
Anyway, the point is I love Star Wars, and I have immersed myself in the franchise for a long time, so I feel I know it well. Though I do love Star Wars, I find that I have some opinions that are unpopular with the rest of the Star Wars fandom.
And that's what I'm going to talk about today. My top 10 unpopular Star Wars opinions. Remember, that's opinions. I don't state any of these as facts. Please don't get too upset. I don't want to be jabbed with a lightsaber. Ah! Fucker!
Number 10. Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite Star Wars story. This is the only non-film entry I have on the list, and I put it in number 10 because I've heard many other people agree with me, but it's true. I think Knights of the Old Republic is the best Star Wars tale told by a long shot.
Every character resonates with me on a deep level, even more so than some of the classic Star Wars characters.
Sorry, Leia. Bastila is my favorite female Star Wars character. Sorry, Han, but Cartho Nassi resonates with me much more.
I know this might sound like blasphemy.
Traitor!
But there's just something about the game's characters and story that resonates with me.
Perhaps it's because it was one of the first RPGs I played where my choices mattered. Maybe it's because it opened up the universe better than any of the novels I read before it. Oh, that reveal in the game though. Whoa. I've played through it many times, and I'm sure there are many more playthroughs in my future.
This is but a taste of the dark side.
Number 9. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of the best Star Wars characters.
And so it begins.
Yes, I think Qui-Gon is one of the most fascinating characters in all of Star Wars. A wise Jedi Master who didn't conform to the
dogmatic, narrow view of the Jedi,
and could have turned the tide for all of Star Wars had he lived.
For a long time, it has been my thought that if Qui-Gon had trained Anakin, Anakin would never have gone to the dark side.
Qui-Gon knew that the Jedi were not right when it came to some of their beliefs. He understood that true balance lay somewhere between the light and dark. Not that Obi-Wan was a poor teacher. His biggest flaw, though, was that he believed too hard in the Jedi. Plus, he played Batman training, Kraken releasing, Jews saving, ocean fucking, lion roaring, cigar smoking, best damn father in the whole world, Liam Neeson. Need I say more? Number 8. Return of the Jedi's opening is way too long.
Listen, I love Return of the Jedi, but for me, it's the slowest film to get started.
I love a lot about Jabba's palace. The Rancor, Jabba himself, Salacious Crumb, and even that CGI band in the special editions. But it all takes too much time to get off Tatooine and onto the proper plot of the film. Not much to say here. I just wish the scene moved at a faster pace, so we could get to this touching moment.
Luke.
Number 7. Jango Fett is more interesting than Boba Fett.
I've never been a Boba Fett guy. I think he looks badass, but that's about it.
On the other hand, I love Jango Fett, the template for the entire clone army and a hired assassin for Count Dooku. Jango Fett not only has more screen time than his son, but also contributes more to the overall narrative of Star Wars. Plus, the battle between Obi-Wan and Jango on Kamino is one of the best scenes in the saga, along with the asteroid pursuit that follows. Dat noise! When I was young, I fell in love with a video game called Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and it's quite a fun Star Wars adventure itself. And this only helped me prefer Jango over Boba. True, Boba has some awesome tales in the EU, but as far as on screen, Jango is my preference. Number 6. Ewan McGregor is the better Obi-Wan.
Don't get me wrong, I love Alec Guinness. I mean, who doesn't?
He is a wonderful actor and a powerful presence on screen. But unfortunately, we didn't get enough of him as Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. We had 3 full films with McGregor's Obi-Wan, and saw him develop from a young Padawan to a full-fledged Jedi Master. Ewan McGregor, many would argue, is the best part of the prequels, and I agree, he is one of the best parts.
Plus, McGregor has a certain wit that could come off as really funny.
Hello there.
Good job.
The negotiations were short.
Alec Guinness holds a special place in my heart, but with McGregor in the prequels and an upcoming Obi-Wan film, McGregor is my favorite Obi-Wan.
So uncivilized.
Number 5. My favorite Star Wars film is A New Hope.
And Rogue One. That's it. I said it. I said it! I said it!
I don't think anyone is going to chastise me for loving A New Hope the best, but I do, in fact, put Rogue One on the same pedestal. Though it's only a year old, I believe Rogue One is the most perfect companion piece to A New Hope.
Rogue One showed me a story that I had no interest in beforehand, but I was enthralled with once I saw it.
The story is simple: how a ragtag group of rebels stole the plans to the Death Star. We could have gotten a flat, uninteresting cast with mediocre writing, but instead we got what I consider a masterpiece. Every character of the Rogue One crew is likable and interesting to me, with a great emphasis on Chirrut, the blind, force-sensitive guardian of the Whills, who is easily one of my favorite Star Wars characters. The villainous Orson Krennic is another standout performance. Hell, it was even great to have Grand Moff Tarkin back, even if he did look a little like a soulless husk.
Do you think all these CGI recreated actors will get together for their own team-up movie?
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people to see if we could become something more. So when they needed us, we could fight the battles
that they never could.
We're always on the same team.
Oh, you know you'd watch it.
I love Rogue One, and I can't wait to see more Star Wars stories. And let's not forget about that Darth Vader scene. Number 4. I prefer the special editions.
Now, I know a lot of you out there worship the original cuts. And those were the editions I grew up with, so I do love them. But for the most part, I think the changes that were made are for the better.
The attack on the Death Star in A New Hope, the Wampa and Cloud City in Empire, the music in Return of the Jedi. I already mentioned that I really like the new song in Jabba's Palace, even though it's really silly. And by far my favorite change was the removal of Yub Nub from Return of the Jedi.
I always hated that this was the song the trilogy ended on. But I love the quiet yet triumphant song the trilogy ends on now.
It feels like the Star Wars universe can breathe again, like the Force is awakening. And before anyone brings it up, yes, I do like Hayden Christensen in the final scene. For me, it really helps in connecting the trilogies together. Also, Darth Vader's is a great addition as well. I recently revisited the original cuts, and I do still love them. After all, they were my only Star Wars films for over a decade. But I felt myself missing the added content in the special editions.
Whatever way you watch it, it's still Star Wars. Does it really matter who shot first?
Number 3. I enjoyed Jar Jar Binks and young Anakin Skywalker.
Yes, I know. I'm in the extreme minority on this, but hear me out.
First, Jar Jar Binks. Is he annoying? Yes. Does he have some god-awful dialogue? Yes. Do kids like him? Yes.
I find a lot of kids like Jar Jar, and I was one of them.
If you would have asked my younger self what my favorite character in The Phantom Menace was, well, it would have been Darth Maul, but Jar Jar was a close second. He was funny, childish, and yes, he did further the overall Star Wars plot.
In fact, I hear a lot of people blame him for giving the authorization to build the clone army, which would eventually lead to the downfall of the Republic. And they're not wrong.
I don't hate him more for that. In fact, that makes me love him even more. It makes him a more interesting character. I do understand the hate, but I will always stick up for my favorite Gungan. Now, onto young Anakin Skywalker. I lump these two together because I hear almost equal disdain for both of these characters. Except with Anakin, I don't understand the hate as much. Jake Lloyd is not the best child actor, sure, but there's a certain realism to Anakin because of that.
He can be annoying, but guess what? Kids are annoying!
But he is also sincere and compassionate, which I think is extremely important for the audience to see. Anakin was not an evil kid. He was a good kid. That makes the transformation of Anakin in the next two films that much more tragic. Did audiences really want to see Anakin as an evil child, like Macaulay Culkin in The Good Son or Reagan in The Exorcist?
Are you an angel? This is so wizard, Annie.
I guess some people did, but if it was that way, why should we care about this kid? If he was already evil, then his transformation wouldn't matter. I hope I've reached some people on these two characters, but there is one performance that is hated more than these two. Number 2.
I like Hayden Christensen's performance as Anakin Skywalker.
As if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror.
Now I know what you all are saying.
How dare you!
But again, just hear me out.
First off, he has the look down perfect in my opinion, especially in episode 3. His facial emotions are spot on nearly all of the time. I can really feel the pain this young man is going through. This is a tragic character, and the scene that really sold me on Hayden as Anakin was his confession to Padme after he killed the Sand People in Attack of the Clones.
And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
I saw how this young man would become the most iconic villain of all time. His relationship with his mother, Obi-Wan, and the Jedi Council were all believable to me, and it was well executed by Hayden.
You thought I forgot about the dialogue, didn't you? Well, I'll never forget. I remember like it was yesterday. In fact, I was there. I was there the day the dialogue died. Cast it into the fire!
I don't like sand.
I can't breathe.
Destroy it!
No.
Lucas!
Anyway, yes, the relationship Anakin has with Padme, and more specifically the dialogue that they share, is easily the worst written, delivered, and emoted dialogue I have ever heard. And I don't think I'm alone on thinking that. That's why I said I like Hayden's performance, not love. Even though most of the dialogue Hayden delivers makes me sick to my stomach, overall, I do like his performance as Anakin. So everyone, stop panicking! And my number one unpopular Star Wars opinion is...
I like The Phantom Menace more than The Force Awakens. In fact, I very much prefer The Phantom Menace to The Force Awakens.
Okay, cat's out of the bag. I'm not a huge fan of The Force Awakens. In fact, the only Star Wars film I would put below it is Attack of the Clones.
Lucas!
When I think of an unoriginal film, The Force Awakens immediately comes to mind. This is not the film I wanted, a basic retelling of A New Hope. I understand why this was done. People were really not happy with the prequels, so we got a movie that felt very familiar to the original trilogy. But this was a mistake in my mind. We didn't really get to further the overall plot as a whole in this film. Not to say that I don't love some things in The Force Awakens. The acting is very good, and it sets up some interesting things for the future of Star Wars. And a few funny moments.
That sounds very scary. You must be so brave.
But I would watch The Phantom Menace over The Force Awakens anytime. I love the set pieces, I love the characters, and by God, that lightsaber duel!
I pop in The Phantom Menace every couple of months and I continue to enjoy it. Whereas The Force Awakens has gotten progressively worse each time I watch it.
I still like The Force Awakens, but if I wanted to watch a Star Wars film like it, I'd just pop in A New Hope. But as far as long-lasting appeal, it doesn't look good for The Force Awakens. But The Phantom Menace is still going strong 18 years later. I watch it and I'm reminded of being 6 years old and experiencing Star Wars on the big screen for the first time. Rogue One gave me a similar feeling, so I know I'm not totally biased. I truly believe The Force Awakens is one of the worst Star Wars films. But if one of the worst Star Wars films is still a really good movie, then Star Wars is still a very strong property.
That's what it comes down to. Star Wars is still very much alive and well, which is great.
Star Wars has huge potential for future films. I can't wait to see more films outside of the Skywalker saga. We all have our own opinions on these films, and that's wonderful. Maybe your favorite film is The Force Awakens, and that's great. I'm glad you have a film you can cherish as much as I cherish A New Hope.
Tell me, what are some of your unpopular Star Wars opinions? Thank you all so much, and may the Force be with you. But still, Star Trek is better than some of the Star Wars films.